Okay, so I'm going to move on to the subject of today. It seemed like a strange subject, and I want to give you a little bit of background. Um, Early in life, when you're trying to make headway, maybe accumulate some money, some success, some recognition, you kind of think I have to be careful until I have enough or plenty, then I can do all the kind of things I want to do. I can maybe spend money without too much care, etc. But as you grow older and wiser and accumulate also money, you discover actually habits don't change that easily. You know, there's a saying in English says the leopard never changes his spots. So when you are one way, you can't decide the following day I'm going to be different. So a lifetime of being careful in money and watching how you spend it, no matter then how much money you accumulate, cannot be changed easily. So I find myself doing the same thing, and sometimes I feel awkward about it. Why am I so cautious? In fact, I think I gave a hard time to all of the stakeholders during the IPO because I was always squeezing and sometimes being asked, why are you so tight with the money? Why are you making it hard for PwC or the lawyers or something? But it seems to come, when I look at value for money, it seems to come naturally. So I thought, let me share with you on that subject some thoughts and see if it aligns with your thinking. And my objective at the end of this, let me tell you, is for you to feel proud of being frugal. Some people think frugal means miserly, means stingy, means whatever you want to call, but it isn't. Frugality is a way of life. Hopefully, when you see the more details, you align with that. But before I go further, of the few I can see in front of me, who amongst you consider themselves frugal? This is not an ego trip. You're not trying to show off. You're trying to say, really, when I reflect on what I do day to day, am I a frugal person? Am I not? A frugal person is somebody that is careful with money, careful about value for money, and happy to save whenever they can rather than spend. And the opposite of that, we will come to it. But a show of hand, who considered himself frugal? Can I see a show of hand? Okay, so we got maybe what I can see in front of me, maybe 10% I've seen, which is interesting. Uh, some of us, because we equate frugality with maybe stinginess, we don't like to say we're frugal. So as I say, at the end of today, maybe you'll decide, no, I'm happy to be frugal, and declare it to anybody who care to ask. So let's see the opposite of frugality. Have you come across the spendthrift term, which is a person who is extravagant and recklessly wasteful with money? Now, you might say, no, definitely that's not me. But if you readily get your credit card out, you want to pay for everyone and everything, and at the end of the day, you have credit card debts right, left, and center. And I can tell you, in the few years I can think of, we've had to rescue few people from being deep into credit card debt. That's the worst kind of debt because the interest rate is like 18-20%, which would makes it impossible to cover that debt without help from somebody. And you will never come out of that debt. And surprisingly, not just individuals, companies and countries can be spendthrift and extravagant with money and can never pay their debt. So let's say, hopefully, nobody on the call is spendthrift. And if you are, this session is definitely for you. Maybe you'll change your mind. So let's put a parallel, frugal person versus a stingy person. Frugal, thoughtful resource management. So we're not just talking money. It could be the number of people you have, the support people you have, the help you have. You notice even the help. Have you noticed some household, they have like three maids? What on earth do you need three maids? They may have one or two children, but two maids, one for each child, etc. So that's resource. A frugal person, now let me go to stingy. This is nothing to do with the resources, just inherent psychological reluctance to spend. And I've seen this with, especially in couples that we know, where the husband, it's rarely the wife in this culture, but the husband does not want to give money to his wife. He's just so reluctant to give it that she lives on a meagerly amount of budget if he gives her budget. And when you talk, you cannot believe it that this guy may be earning a decent salary, working for a large organization, but his wife is as if she's married to, I don't know what you would consider a lowly paid person. The frugal person is value focused. Whatever comes across their attention, what is the value for money here? Doesn't matter how expensive or how cheap. And that's really, maybe I talked about the IPO where we had lawyers asking for an enormous amount of money, and we all knew what is involved is something doesn't take maybe a day or two or three. They're asking for it tens of thousands of dollars. So there you immediately jump and say there is no value for money. Somebody's taking me for a ride here. The stingy person doesn't care about value. Any cost is a problem. He's got a cost aversion. So you have a problem with them no matter what you offer them. And by the way, as you listen to this, think of also customers, not just a person. The frugal person try to balance between value, between cost, between resources to get the best leverage. While the stingy person doesn't think at all about that. He just, can I cut that cost no matter what? So the frugal person is a saver typically and accumulate wealth, whether it's a company or a person, while this is a hoarder. They have a psychological issue with it. Now let's see in business why this matters in business. And I think that's really, for me, the crux of it. When you are frugal in business, as any business that is constrained because of their frugal nature, they come up with innovative solution. They don't throw money or resources at a problem. They get clever about how do I deal with this? And I know each of you can give me an example where, no, I don't have the budget for that. How do I do it? And please feel free to jump in with an example so that this is not just a lecture. So if you have a situation where you know you're constrained, your head count couldn't be increased, etc., and you would move resources about or come up with solutions to make it happen without you throwing money or resources at it. And that is self-evident. Small teams, a lot of people think part of frugality is resource management. If you keep it small, small teams are agile, they deliver, they're much more efficient. So that's where a frugal mindset says, okay, we have this business unit, I will keep it to that. The more people you throw at a problem, the more issues that arise. So they know that. A frugal person knows that. And we talked about the solutions, creative solutions. I have seen some of you come up with really interesting solution with limited resources. That's one of the biggest problem against frugality is when you grow, and today let's say we are 2.5 billion dirham business as a company. People start giving you a hard time. What is it, Faiz? Why you be tough on this one? It is, for us, is nothing. It's a drop in the ocean. And that is a big problem because no matter how big you become, you should never get into what is called number numbness. You know, if you like, an elephant is a huge creature. If you prick an elephant, it makes no difference. That's not true in an organization. If it becomes big and you lose track of value, of, if you like, effectiveness, value for money from each part of the organization, you add up more cost. Before you know it, what happens to your bottom line? What happens to your gross profit? And you're trying to be competitive. Why do you think for 40 years we've survived despite all kind of competitors coming on the scene? You guys work on extremely thin margin, but we protect that bottom line. We keep delivering it. People come, they try to compete with you and decide, how can we work on 6%? These people live and thrive on 6%. Most of the, especially international, no way they can touch that. So you have a much better opportunities. And then you're able to pass that benefit to the customer. How? Obviously, low cost, low margins means low pricing, and small teams, efficient, agile teams, customer is happy. These aren't accident. I'm willing to bet of all the people on the screen that I see, you're all frugal. Maybe you haven't recognized it in yourself yet. Some of you have. But if you haven't, that's you. That's how we are successful. It isn't, and I know so many of you call me, oh, why are we doing this? Why are we spending on that? Why do we keep this on board? And that is exactly your frugal nature, if you like, rebelling against waste and overspending unnecessarily. Now I'm going to stop a bit so that I have a little bit of a breather while one of you give me an example where maybe in your department, in your area, the frugal approach came up for you with a solution that would be more effective than if we threw more money at it. Anybody?
If I can speak again, I have one current example.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a project where we have a resource, okay? And the expectation of the client for the resource are very high, and you don't want to disappoint the client. So we are pushing the resource to get the resource with the minimum margin, and we are pushing every item in it to reach his expectation, because it's a part of project. So he was in that in that context. So this is one of the example.
Right. Oh, I see KD. Also, KD is a master at frugality.
Okay,
So,
this is
give us an example, KD.
okay. Recently, we have experienced a tremendous growth. So the advice of the team was to keep pumping people to deliver this growth in the lab, which I didn't agree with it. So what we did instead, we bought an integrated system without paying for it on a lease basis. So we managed to cope with the growth by simply automating things and bringing systems to do the job. So we saved on manpower.
Right. And also that means, so it's a creative solution, but it also opens the door for scaling without throwing more people. More people, is always can translate to more problems. Obviously, sometimes you do need people. Some activities cannot be done with automation because people like to deal with people, and sometimes you have to have resources. But often enough, that the first answer is not always the best answer. So we are competitive. We continue to be competitive despite the size. Usually when a company goes to a size of $1 billion plus and you take your eye off the ball, then you need to work on at least maybe 20% gross profit. Well, in your market, to compete at 20% gross profit, I'm talking generally in the solution area, it's extremely difficult. There's a lot of hungry people who will work lower than that. So if you're able to stay competitive, you survive. Um, we also developed a culture. I think some of you will be aware of it, some because you live it every day, you don't realize the culture is there. So the culture signals the nature of the company, the nature of the team. So if you look at our offices, let me take the Dubai office, JLT. What do you think? Is it more like this one and this signal, or is it more like this one? Okay, so if it is like this one, you're signaling efficiency, frugality, care, value for money. If it is this one, it's obviously opulence. You trying to show off how rich you are. Then if you are like that, don't haggle with me. Don't try to squeeze most value out of me. Look how you're living. Okay, another signals. I know easily, when people see me driving a Toyota, they think, why aren't you having a a Bentley or a Rolls? I think, what is this? It just totally goes against the. To me, this is far more effective, just as comfortable, easy to maintain. I can take it to any shop in Musaffa and they do a good job. Any mechanic can fix it. This one, nobody can touch it. So that's a signal. And I know that applies to everybody. And you guys, even those who went and bought BMW, they waited until they could get a bargain. I think each one of you bought it way below the list price of the dealer. Otherwise, you wouldn't go. I know that. So though you will see your colleague who driving, I don't know, is it an X6 or whatever, they got a hell of a bargain to buy that one. And the same applies to everybody. We recycle in the company. This is not just about sustainability. Honestly, it feels wrong to use a paper and then that's it. We printed a graph and we don't need it anymore. So we recycle it, turn it the other way, and we have stacks of this. This is another signal that everything counts. Partly you can call it sustainability, ESG initiatives, but everybody agrees with it as a mindset. Career, I can tell you, lean teams get recognition, not because they cut back on cost. Lean is also resources, lean delivering more with less, etc. You get recognition, you get promotion. This is generally in companies, not just in Alpha. Efficiency, how fast, how well I deliver is far better than throwing more people, getting bigger. Bigger is usually less efficient unless you put really, really good system. But let me take about the personal side, because this is now we're talking to each other as friends. And I've had people say to me, Faiz, what's the point of making so much money if you're not going to spend it? What's the point? Why bother? Anybody wants to say something? If you make money, plenty of money, and you're not going to spend it, what's the point? What do you think? What's the point of the money? Who is not somebody who is frugal? Let's take somebody who didn't say they're frugal. Satish, did you raise your hand? I forget whether you.
Yes,
Are you a frugal person?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are. We don't want frugal people. But tell me, you're starting to make good amount of money. You are successful at what you do. And if I say to you, Satish, I see you're the same guy, the same shirt, the same watch, the same car, yet you made a ton of money. Where is it going? Why aren't you spending it?
I don't know. I cannot answer. I cannot answer. There's so many things.
Spending on his friends like me.
And you, who? Sohaib. So you're spending your money on your friends?
No, I'm telling he is spending money on his friend like me.
But I can just give one example of me being frugal and not frugal. And I've been wanting to buy a Omega watch for 10 years. Every time I go to the shop, I see the watch and I come back. I don't buy it. So I am happy with my Titan watch. At the same time, but the same time, when my nephew asks for money for his college, I'm happy to give.
Right, right. Let me take somebody else. So, obviously, all the EVPs, or we used to call them directors, have made a decent amount of money over the last few years, but I don't see a big change in lifestyle. Sajeev, I know you classify yourself as frugal. What the hell are you doing with the money? What's the point of the money?
First, for me, making money is not that I want to spend and enjoy. So, money also means to me the level of success. I am capable of making money. Yeah, that helps me tell myself I am doing well. It doesn't mean that that money has to be spent. I am very cautious. I always focus on value. So when I spend something, I don't look at the affordability. Even if it's affordable, I always look at the value, and it gives me a little bit of comfort saying that I am resourceful and I am ready for a rainy day.
Okay, good. Let me ask who is with us there? Laith, what is it with you? You made all kind of money. I don't see much upgrade. What's going on? Why aren't you spending it right, left, and center?
Guys, I think about it wisely, as even Sajid said. Normally monthly we are fixing our expenses. For example, house expense, my wife expense, my expense, it's fixed. We keep an amount for emergency, and we keep an amount towards traveling, and also I don't stop anything on myself towards luxury, some sort of that, but within limits. And of course I have to think about future and education of my son. That's
Good.
how I think about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach, I know you're driving. You made a decent amount of money, and you've been contemplating getting a new car for maybe a number of years. What is it with you? Are you frugal or you spendthrift?
I think I'm bad in some areas and good in other areas. I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was talking with my wife about Apple TV subscription. I think it's 27 dirhams a month. And I was saying, I don't want to pay this 27 dirhams a month. I don't see the value in it. Okay. But in other places, I will spend, let's say I have a car for off-road and overland and things like that. And then I will happily spend money. But many people will say, why you're still driving the same old car? And I would say, because it still drive well. I don't see the value to change it and to spend big money on a new car. And when the old one is driving very well and everything is good with it. Because I'm good, some areas I'm bad, but I try to be frugal.
Good, good, clear. Anybody else wants to say before I go why I think personal frugality has value?
Can I maybe say something, Fayez?
Yeah, please.
So I just read a book and it says, money's greatest intrinsic value lies in its power to give you control over your time. And I think that's the most important thing, because let's say that you have a passive income and that this is higher than your burn, then you just dispose over, you have control over 100% of your time. I think that's a great definition.
Very good definition, yes. Okay, so if somebody says to me, what is the money for? You make all this money and you don't spend it, what's the point? So, I find a number of factors. When you get to a point where anything you desire is affordable, you discover in yourself now that I'm not just hankering after something, but I can't afford it and I wish I had the money. When you can buy it, as I think it was Satish who said, he knows he can buy the Omega, but no longer has the urge to buy it. Now, if he didn't have the money, he may have the desire, I wish I can afford it, I know it will add this to my life. So the first thing, if you like, affluence does to you when you have plenty, it actually dampens the urge to spend, because you know you can have it anytime. And believe me, that is a peace of mind. There's nothing worse than this desire to have, but you cannot have. You just keep hankering. And that restraint, you suddenly discover yourself that you're actually in control. I don't have to, I am comfortable, whether I don't buy a watch or Apple TV subscription or another car. Now I can make that decision with no pressure. It's very important that it makes you think, where do I want to spend, where I don't have to spend? Where are my passion and I'm willing to throw money at it, and I know I get the thrill. It's not the thrill that will last half an hour. In fact, some of the thrill doesn't last more than opening the Amazon package. By the time you open it and you took it out, the fun of getting it is gone. Or you spent your money and every day you extract something out of it. Having plenty also opens avenues for charity, helping others. There's a friend or family or a poor person or poor country, whatever. And now you have the means and the resources to help. And believe me, there's nothing that feels more fulfilling than helping others, especially, it is probably each culture is different. You start with your family and then widen your circle. When you can help family members who need help, and then neighbors, and then maybe community, and maybe country, and so on. And that's last but not least of them is building wealth for descendants. You build a good, solid safety net for all the people you care about. That when the day comes, and the day will come for all of us where we kick the bucket, they will be okay. Because you left them something, not just headaches and liabilities and complication. So that is a huge value you can leave behind. Doesn't mean to say you need to be stingy. You can be frugal, enjoy all these benefits, and leave a safety net for all the people you love. I hope this will make you going forward a lot more proud to be frugal. For those of you who are, if you are a spendthrift, believe me, there is a lot more fun in being frugal than throwing money around and having people laugh at you as a person who just wastes their money and they take you for a ride. Thank you very much. And if you don't mind, please rate and leave a comment, and have a great day.